Yeah, okay.
We're ready to go.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, this little thing is awesome right here, but I'm like, no, yeah. They, yeah, start counting, yeah. Where at one point it did that. Or could it be a behavior that changed like an acrobat or something?
Yeah, that was, I think, you lied.
Yeah.
Where's that?
That's the best. The restaurants and shops, just like somewhere. Color is perfect, yeah.
Yeah. All right, everybody, we'll get started. Any stragglers that come in, just make fun of them. So my name is Colleen Peters. I'm the product manager for mapping software at Kongsberg Discovery. And I want to start by just telling you a little bit about what I do, so you know kind of what my role is, and then give you a couple of updates of things that we've been working on this year. And then we're gonna open the floor for open discussion. So when we talk about the mapping software, we have kind of three different things going on. We have the embedded software. That's the stuff that goes on the hardware. So like firmware, all of the PU updates, that's the responsibility for that is with the research and development team. Then we have anything that sort of happens after the fact, after it's collected with visualization, any kind of target detection or related processing type efforts. That's actually being handled by a different group, different software team called Blue Insight. So what I work with is the stuff in the middle here, which is the sensor control software. So this is what you guys are using on the vessels to operate the system. And what I want to do is make sure that you have the tools and resources that you need to operate it well and collect great data. So I would be a very terrible salesperson because I just want to give everything away for free. But this is a commercial business, so they make us charge money for things. So I'm sorry for that, but that's out of my hands. But I do want to make sure that that information is free, available, accessible, and that we answer any questions that you guys might be having. I don't want you being out there, out to sea and getting frustrated, trying to do something with our software or systems. I want to make sure that you get support quickly and get your problem solved fast. So, got a bunch of things I want to show you. I think these presentations will be shared later, so these links will be available to you elsewhere. But I just want to go through a couple of things that have been published this year. So the first thing is this license request form. So if you are having trouble with your license, if you're wanting to upgrade from SIS4 to SIS5, if you want to try out a new feature, do a demo of SIS Remote or EMSVP or some EM feature, if you purchase a new feature, whatever the case may be, when you need a license, you can go to our website and find this form, fill out all the information. That gives them everything that they need to know right up front. The immediate response will be that license file and any relevant instructions. So just to encourage you guys to use that. Then we have our software downloads page for SIS. Currently, it's the current published version. If you are wanting to use a previous version for some reason, you must email customer support. That's because we want everybody to keep moving forward and keep updating. And they want to keep track of why you're wanting to use the version behind, because if you're having a problem, we want to solve that problem, not just leave it there. So we want to know what's going on. For anybody that has older systems, there is a download available for Sys4, if that's the case. But on this same page are the software release notes, and these installers come in three parts. The embedded software, which is referred to as the PU software, that is system specific. Then you have the Sys, and then you have the K controller. So all three of those components are bundled into each installer, which is specific to each system. What I recommend that you do is read those release notes when that's published and decide for yourselves when is a good time to update. I do not need you to update the minute it comes out. This needs to be done when it's convenient to you guys, not in the middle of a survey. Maybe not during the season. That's up to you guys, whenever you guys handle that sort of thing for your other systems. But those release notes will indicate to you if there's anything fixed that's relevant to you. So if you had a critical issue with the EM system, there might be an update in the PU software that you're waiting for. If there are features that were not working well and you requested some improvement, that might be in, say, the Sys software. So if you just take a minute and read through those, you'll see what's been added and changed and fixed, and then decide if that's a good move for you to do that upgrade. Just a note, we have recently published this 515. There are some bugs in it, so if you haven't updated to 515 yet, I will just tell you to wait until 515.1 is released. It's being the final testing is being done now. So you should get an announcement about that in the next few weeks. So I would just hold off on that until that bug fix comes out. So with 515 and newer, there are new PU update instructions. So please take a look at those. They're available online. They're also in the installation documents. There's a couple of new steps where if you have specific systems, you want to update certain components, restart, and then update the rest of the components. That's in those instructions. So just take a minute on your next update and just review that process and make sure that you're following that. Just published last week is a technical note on Sys settings. This is a holistic view of all of the settings in Sys to give you a better view of what needs to be looked at before you restart and what you can change on the fly. This is to try to help you guys be a little bit more efficient in not only knowing what these settings are, where they are, what they do, but also just kind of building a checklist, your like pre-survey checklist. So at the very top of the page is this overview, a couple of points. You could literally copy and paste this into your pre-cruise checklist of the things that you want to do before you start the survey. And I'm going to go over that in great detail on Friday for anybody that's attending on Friday. Something that we have been doing for a while that I thought was not well publicized is transducer impedance measurements. For a lot of older equipment, this is a box that needs to make its way to the ship. You have to unplug a bunch of cables and plug it into the box and do a bunch of stuff. It's very tedious. Your stuff is usually installed in some very inconvenient location, very often a closet of some fashion. So this is not a very fun job for people that need to do that. But in the current generation of systems, so this will be your 2040 series, or not 2040, it doesn't apply, sorry, medium and deep water systems, 712, 304, 124. This is all done by software. You don't have to touch anything. So you can do the data collection yourself. You can have one of our engineers do it. They can do it if they're on your vessel doing other stuff. They can log in and do it remotely. Doesn't really matter. It's not complicated. I just wrote brand new instructions for this. It's very easy to follow. The actual data collection is done in the BIST page of the K controller. So what this does is it will, measure things that the BIS doesn't measure. So your BIS test really looks at the connectivity of all the components of the system, making sure that everything is registering correctly, checks out all your versions, your TX channels, make sure the boards are sound, measures your noise levels from your RX array, things of that nature. This goes even deeper into the system and measures the element level information in your transducer array. So if you guys have had any data quality problems you can't quite pick out, maybe you had a grounding incident or a shipyard incident where something might have messed up one of your modules. If you're just seeing a problem in one spot that just doesn't seem to go away no matter what you do, this could be a great thing to do to try to figure that out. And the concept is to do this at commissioning. So we have that baseline of information. Once a new system's installed, we say, okay, this looks great. And then from then on, you can have this history of degradation over time. The shelf life of these systems is 10 years. We have lots of folks that are using these things well past that point. But if you are looking at an upgrade, if you do the impedance measurement, you can build the case for why you need to replace something or some action that needs to be taken, or just to keep an eye on any specific module or elements that might be causing you a problem, so that you can plan for that upgrade or replacement as needed. So the data collection can be done, as I said, by anybody. That's not what you're paying for. It is a paid service. The paid part is the analysis of that information. So that is done with some proprietary software shoreside. So if you collect this data, it'll go to our customer support, and they're gonna put together a report that shows you plots that are similar to these that can indicate what specifically might be having a problem, and they'll also give you their recommended action. If this is something that you do on a regular basis, like a lot of NOAA vessels already do this, because they have yearly grooms where they're like combing through the whole system and getting like the full status of everything at the start of the field season. That might not be accessible for you guys, but just as an example, then they will include this historical information as well. So you really will see the trend of anything, happening in your system. So just to note that this is a thing that we can do should you need that. Something else that's coming up is working on the export restrictions for some of the equipment. So as it stands now, transmit cards have a requirement for an export license. They moved that to the cabinet. What this means to you guys is if you need to get spares, this is going to be a little bit less hassle moving forward. So that should hopefully be in place early next year. I just want to remind everybody, there is an app for that. You go through the app 222 or the options that gets you to the customer support personnel that deal with mapping systems specifically. I do really want to encourage you that if you are having a critical issue, something that is stopping you from doing your work, please do not send an email, pick up the phone and call. Somebody is on duty 24/7. They will answer you. You can always follow up by email. If you have any other issues that are not quite so urgent, everything is urgent, obviously, when we're on science cruises, but something that can, take some time. This isn't still the most ideal situation. I would love to have a ticketing system that's well above my pay grade. I am advocating for that, but that's something that has to come together at a higher level in Kongsberg. So in the meantime, I put together a support form for you guys. This is found on our website. You can go Google any EM product, any mapping product, and there will be a box here to click on support, and that will come up to this hydrographic support page. And on this page is a form that you can fill out with your problem. The first step is to pick the office that you want that message to be sent to. 98% of the time, you guys should be contacting the US office. But a lot of you do some overseas work. So if you are in a different region of the world, you might be working with a different office. Go ahead and pick the one that's most relevant to you. And when you choose that option, that's who this information will go to. So this form lays out all of the information that customer support needs to know to start working on your case quickly. The thing that I experienced as a customer is I routinely forgot that I was a contractor and moved around to different boats. So I would forget to tell them what the hell boat I was on, what system I was using, what version it was. So we had to go back and forth a bunch of times to suss that out for them to actually move forward with that issue. So this is a way for you guys to make sure you get that information to them up front. That also includes a space to upload small files like biz tests, log files, screenshots, whatever goes along with your problem. And then also a spot for any comments and also any links to raw data. So if you want to go ahead and transfer some raw files straight away, you can send GB, Dropbox, Google Drive, whatever thing you're using. Just put that link right in there and then they'll have everything that they need. If this solution doesn't work for you, because you have to CC like 19 people on every email that you ever send to support, feel free to send the email when it comes back to you, then CC those people, or just use the form as your template for your email. So that you are giving them all of the information they need up front, and then they can immediately start getting back to you with real questions and not spending a ton of time going back and forth trying to figure out those details. So just to see where we are in the world, these are all of the support emails. Feel free to take a photo if you want, but these are the addresses that that form will get sent to based on your selection. If you haven't signed up already, this is our newsletter for software updates for the mapping systems. That includes EM, SBP, EMFP, and K-Sync. So any of those, Topaz, which we don't really have many updates for, but would include that. And whenever we have an update or some other related technical note, you'll get an email with that information. So just wanted to quickly recap what we talked about last year. Just before we move forward. It's probably actually too small. I apologize for you guys to read in the back, but there was an expression of general dissatisfaction with workstations and gridding. So SIS 515, the specific new feature to that release is a new grid algorithm that is faster and more stable. So that was specifically the focus of that release. So there's not a ton of other improvements because that is such a big change unto itself. I didn't want to add too much to the mix there. So that was really geared towards our shallow water customers who have very high data rates and are operating in very shallow environments. So to make that better and more stable for that sort of performance. So that has been released. And then, as I mentioned, there is a bug fix shortly following. We do have questions about the workstations. We do support Windows 11. I'm not going to officially say that until our workstation is Windows 11. That's also in testing now. It's just been unfortunately massively delayed. So that will be coming out probably early this winter, once that's released, which is the thing that we test everything on to certify that, yes, this is supported. Then we will officially communicate that we support Windows 11, but please don't worry. If you have made the switch already, you are going to be supported. OLEX, are there any OLEX users here? Mostly fisheries, I think. So I gave them everything they needed to know. And it's up to them to do anything about that. Virtual machine support, scripts in the house. Yeah. This is a complicated issue because there's so many different ways to build your hardware and your operating system and your settings and everything. It's really hard to sort of have a quality blanket support for that. So I'm not going to say that you're not supported, but our support really is if you have one of our workstations, it's fully supported. If you choose your own adventure, it's not fully supported. I mean, we are here to help you. We're not going to leave you hanging high and dry. but we do need your cooperation to pinpoint issues that you guys might be experiencing due to your custom setup. So if you guys find things that aren't working for you, you let us know, me specifically, then we can make adaptations in the SIS software to accommodate that. We don't really have the staff to do that for you, so we need to have a good collaboration there in order to make that work. So I'm sure there's gonna be more people moving that direction in the future, and we are working on trying to figure out a good way to, support this better, but it is tricky. We did find out, I don't know if Scripps, if you guys are using Windows 11, we did see some improvement moving between Windows 10 to 11. But again, it really also depends on your hardware and your VM management software and your permission settings and all these other things. So, there was a question about security issues. So if there is some kind of security update of some fashion, you'll be notified with some kind of technical notice, the same way that our software updates come through. Our systems are designed to be isolated systems. So if they're connected to another network, like your chipboard network, as basically everybody does, that responsibility does pass to the operator. So if we have something specific, we'll share that with you. Right now, we are working on compliance with the Cyber Resilience Act, which is due in 2027. That mostly relates to our workstations, but we'll also have some requirements for our software as well. And as I have more information, that'll be shared in the release notes. You have a question?
Yeah, are you talking about software vulnerabilities for SIS versus like Windows security updates?
I don't remember what that question was about specifically, if it was software or hardware specific. I don't remember, but if we have either of those things, they're gonna be communicated with a technical notice. But the network cyber support is noted in our manuals as well.
Okay.
Backscatter calibration, yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, not to interrupt. I just wanted to ask, as somebody that is not on the virtualized side of this yet, is now a good time to start maybe attempting to virtualize, or should we still wait until?
That's really up to you guys.
Okay.
Yeah.
You guys.
That's really a personal preference. Like if your institute has the right staffing to support that kind of technical infrastructure, then that's more of an institutional decision than with us specifically.
But you would be fully ready from your company side to support
So
virtualize?
if you choose a different computer than the computer we supply, it's not fully supported. So if you're having issues running the software on your computer, that's a you problem. That's not because we don't want people to be successful, but we don't have the capacity to troubleshoot everybody's individual computers. So that's why we have a computer that's offered as part of the package, so that we have control over the settings that are delivered on that machine, because that's what we have tested everything on.
Oh, fair.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, you wanna go first?
Well, in regard to testing in virtual environments, and just from experience in another company, what we often find just with including tests on VM hosts, and as part of the QA cycle, that maybe discovering that or perhaps one of the software routines was using like some kind of legacy library that really should have been updated to one that that's more modern and fully supported by Microsoft and compatible with virtual environments like VMware or others. And that's one thing that we discovered at my previous company.
Yeah, like if you find something like that, you tell me that, and then we can make some changes.
Yeah.
It's just that we don't really have the capacity to go figure that out for you and your specific setup.
I was just gonna ask, on the topic of the security and working in an isolated network environment, I guess is what that means. Is anything on the roadmap to add security inside that like, device to device authentication or
Yeah,
encryption?
really the security updates that we're doing, Cyber Resilience Act. Earlier at the last session, we talked about backscatter calibration. So we do have a tool that's coming that will allow you to use the K controller backscatter calibration tool to collect your backscatter calibration data for shallow water systems. And instead of doing like 900 different lines and 57 different modes, you'll do 2 lines and the K controller will cycle through everything for you automatically. It'll also include a place to upload the calibration file once that's made by our customer support. So that will hopefully streamline that process and make it easier to do in practice. So we're hoping to release that sometime this winter. So you'll get an announcement about that whenever that comes. So that's all I have from last year. We did have a couple of questions that came through on Monday in our sort of ad hoc session. But now I just want to open that up to you guys, and if you guys have any comments or questions or see stories, horror stories, whatever it might be, hit me.
Question. This was from the autonomous platform we were working on a couple months ago. It was a 304, and we didn't ask the question of the company, but are all the 304s and 124s being shipped with the voltage reduction now, or has that changed?
I don't know the specific status right now, but what has been done since I think a few vessels have experienced this, having some cards burn out caused some big issues in your cabinets. New boards have been designed that have fuses this is on the TX boards, have fuses on each channel, so that if something goes awry, it might destroy one channel, not the whole board, and hopefully not the backplane, and hopefully not the cabinet. So those are in production. I'm just not aware if they're delivering them yet, because the first step is to replace them for some of the customers that experience that issue themselves. Once those sort of make it into circulation, there will be opportunity to update your systems, and then to bring it back to normal voltage. I just would note that the swath difference is pretty minimal in deep water, and it's really under an abundance of caution because we haven't been able to find any specific thing that happens to cause that problem. So we just don't want people risking that to happen, because there might not be enough parts to go around to replace everything for everybody. So there's a little bit of a sacrifice on some coverage, but it's like on the order of 100 or so, couple 100 meters in very, very deep water where swath width is in the kilometers. So it should hopefully be in the weeds.
Is the documentation on this, like, law? Like, as far as like, is there something that, like, so we're just getting a EM 124?
New systems will get the new cards.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. They're just ramping up production so we can deliver with the new card and repair some previously installed systems. Yeah.
What about new systems that have been delivered to the shipyard but not?
I'm not sure what the specific plan is for that, but,
I can ask.
yeah, I think, I think there would be the option to purchase the cards as like cost to make the switch. To avoid any problems, but don't quote me on that.
Okay.
Take this up problem with back to part one, versus the mark two.
I think it's really been mostly in 124s and a handful of 304s. I don't specifically remember if there was a difference, if there was Mark 1 or Mark 2.
Okay, yeah, I'm not sure.
I just would have to go look at our own
I couldn't
data.
remember if we were.
Yeah.
I thought I heard that there was some mitigation that we can just, you mentioned reduce voltage or?
Yeah, the mitigation was to reduce the high voltage on the system,
okay.
which will reduce your swath coverage by a little bit. And that's just out of the abundance of caution, so we don't have this problem keep happening and not be able to support everybody. Come on, you guys have had all year to figure out your questions.
Sorry, you know.
Same.
I asked this question maybe a year or so ago. Is there still development of a 38 kilohertz ACB?
It's in testing now, it's installed on our vessel. About this big,
Yeah,
it's enormous.
got a big hole in my ship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that their goal is to release it, to launch it at Oceanology, which is in March. That's a trade show in London. So, hopefully that'll be on track, but that was installed recently on our vessel for at-sea testing.
I can go check it out very much more. Oh, yeah, yeah. You guys want to do at-sea testing behind that guy's
What else? What else we got? Friday, who's gonna be here on Friday? Couple people, so I'm gonna go into greater detail about a variety of other things, like look at the software, and poke through settings and stuff. So if you have any questions on any particular features in the software, I will say that this version that we've published now, focused on the gridding and improving the gridding. The next major release of SIS is going to have a big focus on the planning module, trying to make various features within that a bit easier so that you can actively use SIS for planning in a more functional fashion. Like a long list of other stuff that I want to take care of as well. The goal is to hopefully do one more major release and then stop working on SIS 5, aside from any critical issues, so that we can focus on SIS 6. SIS 6 will be web-based. We're getting rid of this K controller situation because that's a big old hassle. So it's gonna be one SIS, there's gonna be 3 license levels. And we'll hopefully make a lot of additional improvements that we don't wanna spend the time on to shoehorn into SIS 5. We're just gonna do it right from the beginning in SIS 6. So I do hope to have something to show people, for anybody that might attend FEM, which is our user conference in next September.
Does the new quick grid make the TU replay option less janky? Which it seems to like to crash randomly and just not grid.
That has not been my experience and I use that almost every day.
Okay.
So there might be something else going on there, that we could look at.
Okay.
I have used both and in my experience replaying a variety of data, because I'm looking at data from different vessels and different systems and, you know, different age, and I haven't seen that issue. But, have you done that with 515?
I have not done that with 515. I think we're 2 or 3 versions behind right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would,
just discovered this feature very recently.
Yeah.
That'd be incorrect.
well, I would try that on 515 and see how you go, and let me know if you're still experiencing that issue.
Okay.
I would encourage folks to download SIS on your own laptops so that you have all of the documentation on your computer, so you don't have to go searching the website. We do have a documentation site that I can show you. Let's see. So if you want to just mark that on your own devices, kongsbergdiscovery.net. This is our documentation site. This is separate from the website. On the website, you have the product pages and the help form and the license form and the download links and stuff. Here you have the manuals, the data sheets, any kind of technical references. So if you go to the sys page, here you can get to the software downloads, and then you can get to the technical notes. Technical notes. This is what I have so far. I'm constantly working on adding to this. These give you like a short, more specific description of a particular topic. So you can take a look at those as well. Let me know if there's anything that you want to know more about, and I can put something together for that. But if you're having any problems doing something in the software, let customer support know. We want to get that feedback. I don't want you guys out there suffering because something keeps crashing on you or something's not working right. Let's get it fixed. When we release our software, we have major releases, minor releases, and bug fix releases, and patch fixes. So if you're having a critical issue, we can issue you a patch fix, which will be like one file that needs to be replaced in your installation. So we want to get those to you as quickly as you're having that problem. The bug fix, which is the third number in the version, that's where we have just a list of critical fixes that we want to push out to everybody. And so that's the one that's coming up shortly. So the major releases typically will have some big list or some major change, like the new gridding feature, for example. So you want to keep an eye out for those ones. We don't want you to be too far behind, but I don't want you to update the day it comes out if you're in the middle of doing other stuff. You know, want you guys to be focused, make sure that the installation is sound before you start working on it. I would recommend generally just doing a fresh uninstall when you do your install, just to make sure everything's a good clean slate. And then if you use that settings technical note to just kind of run through this list, you have here this overview section. If you just run through those couple of things, you know, comb through everything, make sure it's the way you want it, and then you should be hopefully good to go.
How often are sys updates tied to firmware updates? Is there ever any like?
I'm desperately trying to separate them.
Okay.
But they keep needing to issue a bug fix for the EM system. So it tends to, in reality, it's like every time.
Okay, the question, I guess, stems from those that have SVP 29 systems and the firmwares of the 29 and 124 are very intimately related.
Yeah.
And if doing sys updates will break out, that is kind of.
That's certainly not the goal. We certainly don't want that to happen. In the update, that email that goes out, the software update, if you need to do anything about the sub-item 29, it should be noted there. It should also be noted in the EM update release notes. It'll say specifically for the 304, 124 to do something if you have to update your sub-item 29 software. So if you experience an issue after doing that, absolutely let us know as soon as possible, but we aim to tell you that in advance. But that's another reason why it's really important to read the release notes, because you might decide, oh wait, no, I'm not really ready to update that too. Let me delay, I'll do this at the end of the whatever. Yeah.
Is there any movement on getting rid or having an alternate option to having ASP keys? Because I support 3 or 3 ships with various multi-beams, and some of them are virtualized, so getting a USB port added to those things isn't always the easiest thing to do.
Sorry, I missed the first part. Are you talking about
Is
license?
it possible to have a permanent license that's not HASP based?
Yeah, yeah, right.
If at all possible.
This has been my goal for at least 2 years. We are working on getting a license management system that will make it much easier to do that, specifically for our virtualized customers. It has been delayed and delayed and delayed. I don't really know why. It's not a project that I'm really working on. It's I'm desperately waiting for this to be delivered. So that is the goal.
It's on the horizon.
It is certainly on the horizon. It's like right here, you know, it's like almost there. As soon as we have that available, we will certainly let you guys know. There are several customers waiting on that. So definitely are trying to get that to you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
How do you get to this phone line?
Yeah. There's an app for that, right? But also in the SIS, this is not my computer, but in SIS, if you go to the help menu support, that phone number is right there as well. There's the phone number, dial 222 to get to the hydrographic support. There's also the email address for the Norwegian support. Yes.
It works really well. Like I've talked to the Norwegian engineers, I can hear them getting out of their bed at night and walk downstairs. But
Yeah.
it works.
Somebody is on duty 24/7. So, yeah, so they will pick up the phone faster than they'll see your email. So if you're having an issue that's stopping you from doing your work, please, please, please call.
Yeah.
Anytime.
Yeah, it's incredible. Like we were able to troubleshoot way more quickly with them on the phone and figure out exactly what connects to that story. Couple hours, and eventually decided not to sail because it was broken, but like, yeah, we would have sailed with the brothers just like they did after the phone call. And it's good. Yeah.
Questions, comments? Is there anything you wanna see, anything you want changed? This guy again?
We alluded to this in the last MAC session, or there have been cases where installation parameters are getting changed by science users.
Oh,
And,
yeah, okay, I can talk about that.
You can't do that on CPAP. You can't go in and change
Right,
MRU angles without a password, and it's obviously a very simple password, but just having that little barrier is enough to stop a lot of.
yeah, that's already done.
You have it.
It's in SIS 515. You're welcome. So I'll get to that in a second. Yeah, so, is SIS 515 includes K controller 3. It's mostly a refresh of the GUI, just kind of change some of the visualness of it. But there are quite a few new features in the K controller, so I do recommend looking at those release notes as well. Actually, I could just bring them up here. Let's go like this. So there is a bunch of new stuff. And final thing, but last but not least, there is a password for installation parameters in K controller 3. So I have this set as no password by default, because I don't, generally what I try to do is I don't want to force you to use the new thing. So I make the default what you've been doing before, and you guys can elect on your own to use the new thing. So that's the way I did it with the quick grid as well. So in 515, you have to enable the quick grid, otherwise it'll just do what you've been doing before. So in K controller 3, which is coupled with 515, you have no password by default. You just navigate to the preference menu and then you can create your own password. So that will lock the installation parameters after some set amount of time. I think it's like 300 seconds or something to that effect. And then all you have to do is you want to change something, which you really shouldn't be doing once you start your survey. But if you need to change something, you type in the password, it unlocks, and then you can change stuff. But without unlocking, you can still see everything. So if you're just trying to grab a screenshot like, oh, what was that number there? You can still do all of that. You just can't change it without unlocking it. You have a question?
That is very nice, but, why forgets the password? Is there an easy way to reset it?
You can uninstall and reinstall.
Okay.
If you get to that, yeah. Yep. So other features in this K controller are that you don't have to do the command line to do telnet logging, it starts automatically now. Yay, cause that's a real pain in the ass, so now you can, just hit Control L and it'll pop up that log for you. There's a new file for each day and it's also named for the system, so on the rare case that you have multiple systems on one sys, they will be differentiated. That is, I think, a very helpful thing that annoyed me in the past. For the runtime menu in the K controller, you can also pick the custom page, so you can make your own arrangement of settings. You can give it your own name so that people coming on different watches can just pick the menu that they want to look at. So, play around with that. Then we have, last year I talked about there being a way to disconnect the K controller. That's now a formal disconnect button. So if you're having an issue where your systems are maybe like something janky happened and all of a sudden your pinging is messed up, or you're not getting depths or something, or you're not communicating right or getting all the data, what you can do is navigate to the K controller, hit the disconnect button, and then reconnect. That reestablishes that communication between the sys and K controller software and the PU. And then hopefully you don't have to do a restart of the PU, because takes like 5 more minutes to, do all that and restart this. So try that. I would try that first, disconnect. Give it a second, connect button will pop up, reconnect, start pinging, keep moving along. The, couple of other things are that you can see, the status for your inputs anywhere on any K controller page. And so you just click on the status icon on the K controller control bar, and then the input status pops up. So you can see that kind of from anywhere. And just to clarify, K controller being the interface to the PU is part of sys. You can operate the K controller by itself with some other software like Quincy, or you can use, if you're using sys, it's just part of sys. So when I say open a K controller page, K controller display, I'm talking about just the installation parameters and runtime pages, which are all web pages. So you can open them in the app, which is hidden in the taskbar. You can open them in the display menu in sys, and you can also right click on any of those pages and open them in a web browser. So lots of different ways to look at that. There's also information on the K controller pages for all of your licenses. So if you're unsure what license you have enabled, that's there as well. The phone number can also be found here on the K controller information page. So you have the email, the phone number, and then a link for remote support. That's if you're going to get somebody connecting to you, you click that link and then you give them the permission for accessing your system. Yeah, those are the highlights on that. So that's in the K controller release notes for your reading pleasure. And then, for sys. So once we do support Windows 11, that's going to go in the release notes there. And it will probably also be announced in the email that you get with the software update. There's a very few bug fixes and minor fixes in this version. I did bring back the save screenshot for anybody who was ever annoyed about that. Sys 4, you could just like take a screenshot. So Control S takes a screenshot of sys. So when you're trying to capture those error messages, you don't want to have to like print screen and open Paint and then paste it and whatever, right? Hit Control S, it takes the screenshot, and guess what? Saves it to your raw data directory. It says it in the bottom of the screen as well, exactly where it was saved, so you can see that. So that'll create a folder in your raw data directory called screenshots. Super original, and then you can find them and keep them. Couple of other things that were changed are related to the grid, so I'm gonna go through that at the workshop. But you can read through that on the release notes. Two additional features that were added are that you can automatically display the location of a sound velocity profile. So if you enable it in the parameter setup, whenever you have a sound velocity profile added to the system, it'll plot in the geographic display, so you just know where it is relative to your data. It'll also log that to a CSV file, so if you wanna pop that into your GIS Sigma, whatever, and you can turn that visibility on and off, because obviously that'd be super annoying in very shallow water when you have like 9,700 sound velocity profiles. We're also logging the sound velocity sensor data. And the color map for this is based on the minimum and maximum that you set in the parameter setup. Probably we're gonna wanna do something better with that in the future, but at least as a starting point, you can also turn off the visualization of that as well, and that's logged to a similar format, CSV as well. So if you wanna bring that into some other software, or just like keep an eye on what your sound velocity sensor is doing, as it relates to this, that's available too. So. Yeah, so do you guys have any other, things that annoy you, you wish would be fixed? I never got to you, you had a question. Okay.
Okay.
All right,
So, we mentioned, configuration parameters, installation parameters, there's a feature for saving these to, I think it's an XML file, but it never seems to actually work when you try to restore those. I mean, is that something that's been any work been done on that, or is it something what we do is to be sure, we just take screenshots of everything.
yeah,
So-
I love the screenshot.
Destinations, right? I think in that file, this is some of the UDP like destinations.
Yeah.
That's the UDP stuff, do you mean the data distribution?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so, yeah, so that's a little bit different, so. The first thing is that in 5.14, we introduced the ability to synchronize your auxiliary data to the raw data directory. So what that means is you can save your BIST, PU parameters, sound velocity, and any external logging all to the same directory as the KMLs. They're all in subdirectories named accordingly. So that was step number one. I recommend at the start of any survey, saving your PU parameters to that directory, just so if something screws up in the middle, you can easily load them. I haven't heard specifically of a problem loading them back to the PU. I am not customer support, so that doesn't mean it doesn't happen, or that I don't believe you. I just haven't had that experience myself. But that is the best step to try to recover that quickly. There is a problem that has happened, and we can't really figure out the exact reason why it happens, but on some installations, the XML file on the PU gets corrupt. And you have to replace that in order to get the system back up and running. That's something that we're actively trying to solve. But again, we don't really know what's causing that. So we have done some work to make that XML more robust. So that will hopefully come out on the next release. So hopefully nobody's had that experience, but hopefully that won't happen in the future either. What was the other comment about settings? Yeah, so I love screenshots. I take them myself for everything, but saving that PU parameters file is really helpful. You can also back up the sys settings. That's all of that's written up in that new technical handout as well, so I highly recommend reading that before your next survey.
So that PU parameter, does it also say, saves the data distribution?
Oh, sorry, the data
Yeah, it
distribution,
does.
yes, that was the question,
Yeah.
thank you. Okay, so the data distribution configuration, which is a separate GUI that you open from the tools menu. In that GUI, there's a save to file option. So that's what you wanna do, that's separate from everything else. That's also listed in this technical note. That will change in hopefully the next major sys release, where we introduce a new functionality called EM data distribution, which is where we take that away completely. and we put that in the K controller. So if you're using SIS or not using SIS, it's done in the same way. And that will be what we use moving forward into SIS 6. And in that new functionality, you can choose UDP or TCP, unrelated to how SIS is using, what SIS is using to connect to the PU. So SIS is configured to connect by TCP by default. You can elect to use UDP, it's not recommended. But that will be operating independently from your data distribution to other systems. So it will be more simple, I promise, when the EMDD is available. So that's in its final testing. That'll be released hopefully on the next K controller release of 2042 first. So you get feedback. A lot of shallow water customers who are not using SIS are gonna be using that for things like Quincy and high pack and all that, and we'll get some more feedback and make sure that that's good before we ship it out to everybody else. Anything else that you are annoyed by? Keeps you up at night? This guy again?
It's a positive thing. I saw a reference to a system report. Is that
Yeah.
something you can export easily? Is that something that should be submitted with like a help request? Or,
System report?
yeah, I saw on the release notes, it's something about system report. Is that just?
Was it the K controller release note?
Sure.
No, we don't have a good system report yet. That's one thing that's on my list. Cause it would be really neat to not have to take 97 screenshots of things. If we could just do it for you, wouldn't that be cool? So that's on the list.
Yeah, okay, I got something, I guess, more of my question will be based on Friday, but like using software directly, but, like on most watches for people that are looking at sales jobs, they're having to restart SIS 2 to 3 times.
Mhm.
Is that common for other people?
No,
Is there a way that we can, like, is there something that you would recommend for us to not have that happen as often?
yeah, that, I would say that 2 to 3 times a watch is not common, maybe 2 to 3 times a survey, like in the course of a couple of
Yeah,
weeks
no,
might be
it's-
common. But daily, no, something strange is happening.
Yeah, so I'm wondering if like we could do better upkeep, obviously we do have 24-hour ops.
Yeah.
So maybe we need to have the computer on a service schedule or rebooting it as well as this, or.
Yeah. That's really shitty, like I'm sorry it's happening to you guys.
No, and it is frustrating
yeah.
because well, now what we're doing for the new numerical display glitch is we're literally restarting SIS, looping back around and
Yeah.
regridding.
Yeah.
And it's a waste of time in my opinion.
For sure.
And
For
also I'm like, this is not productive.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering
Yeah,
if there's
absolutely.
maintenance we can do on those VMs where they're installed to.
Yeah.
That'd be good.
I'll have to have a think about that.
Yeah.
And we can chat more about that on
Yes.
Friday, but that's
Perfect.
unusual,
Yeah,
for sure, at that level.
yeah.
I'll have to have a think.
Yeah, and I think get more specific with like what's actually happening,
Yeah,
like I could
that would be
reopen
helpful.
some tickets
We
and
can take
like,
some notes.
yeah,
Yeah.
and we can get more.
I think that numerical display glitch, I think that when I said Jordan sat down with Sam and I figured something out, I think they may have figured something out to help that on Monday.
If I can bring back the answer to the team, they would be really stoked. Everyone's annoyed.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
we might have some progress happening here already.
Great.
I don't know the specifics.
Yeah, that's okay.
But yeah, Jordan, one of our engineers, was with me there on Monday,
Okay.
and he sat down with me. And Morgan walked away with like, I think we found a solution for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's been implemented, we're telling that.
Yeah, okay, we don't get too excited yet, but we'll vote.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Thanks, Colin.
No problem.
Any other burning issues, annoyances, cool things that you wish it did? Things you wanna know more about?
I really like the SVP upgrade that's coming, that's pretty cool. Do you need to see where you're tested at or the information associated with that?
Yeah, the concept was, with the SVP plot, so you could see like, okay, I'm getting nearing the end of my survey. Do I wanna circle back around and get another plot or another profile before I skedaddle?
Yeah,
You know, making sure that you have good distribution around your survey. And then if you are using the surface sound speed plot, you could see, like, is there something different happening on one side of the survey versus the other regarding that surface sound speed? Or maybe you'd wanna get another profile in that area. So, I'm looking for feedback on that one in particular. There's a way to improve that, color map in particular. We just
Telling
picked,
that just the track or that's really.
it's just on the track, yep. Cause that's just measured at the transducer.
Right.
Yeah,
No contour or
no.
Speaking of color maps, was there an option to set limits on the grid at this point for the color map? Because sometimes when you get a flyer,
Yeah.
it resets.
Yeah, all of the color maps for all of the terrain models, cause you can do depth, which can be min, median, max, whatever it's called, tide, critical tide or real-time tide. You could do standard deviation, sounding density, something else. Those are all customizable. And you can set them to, so SIS has a default color map for everything, but you can create your own manually, which you can also save, or you can also, in this edition, create one that you want to use every time. Your own personal default. So if you have that set up, it's written in the release notes, then when you start SIS, it'll use that directly. Cool.
We are over time.
Awesome.
That's.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks everybody for coming. Don't forget to grab your swag. It's a friend here. If we don't bring it to the vessel, I'm sorry. We're not trying to be mean. Our engineers generally don't get this stuff in their hands. This is stuff that we order for, so, yeah.